Hey guys, Marty McConnell here, Off Grid Gecko, and I wanted to do just hopefully a quick follow-up video on the Fatwood harvest and how things are going, because things are not going exactly according to plan. This was actually my first real big stump that I harvested. I'm planning on harvesting some more off of pine tree trunks, and of course you little guys are gonna come. Why do you come bugging me when I'm doing stuff? Oh, there's another one. Okay, so I'm going to be covered in fur here in a minute. But just a follow-up video. This is my first big harvest for Fatwood and my first stump that I butchered up. And basically, this is the stuff that I'm looking for right here, because this is like gold to me right now. There are some differences between the Fatwood that I'm collecting around here and some of the stuff that I buy in the catalogs. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because your Fatwood might look a little different than what you buy from the store, or it might feel different or whatever. Most of it is, as far as the feel and the general look of it, is going to be the same. It's going to have a slightly sticky texture to it. And these ones, I believe, are Southern Pine is the species that these came from. So the grain on this, you can't really see it in the video. It's a lot bigger. These are like 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch rings on this tree, whereas Fatwood out of my little bag down there has much tighter grain structure, and this was a slower growing tree that this came off of. I can just tell by looking at the wood. It's also slightly darker in color. And I believe this is a species from Virginia. If I had to guess, I would guess this came from a longleaf or some other species of pine that I'm not growing here. And when it's sliced up, sometimes they get this real bright red color, translucent. That's mostly from my little Fatwood pile there. But this stuff is not in any way better than the stuff that I got out of the woods there. I mean, it all lights the same, it goes the same. This may have a little bit more resin in it, but you slice a sliver off this and burn it, you're going to get that same little bubbly sparkle that you saw in the last video, and basically the same quality of stuff. It just looks a little different because it's a different species, and there's maybe a little more tree in here. So all of this is impregnated with that resin sap, even the low quality stuff that I'm going to show you in a minute. So what I'm basically doing now is butchering up this stump into little blocks like this. They're about 1 inch, and they're 3.5 inches long. This is just the length that I've been cutting them to, because this, if I split this into smaller pieces, it'll fit in an Altoids tin, and it also fits in my little mason jar that I have for the Fatwood that I actually use to start fires. Is this length. It's not the big 8-inch commercial pieces, but I've been calling this my commercial grade Fatwood. So it's basically the good stuff from the stump, and it's pretty straight grained, and I can knock it into blocks like this fairly easily and quickly, and then hopefully make stuff out of this later. I plan on making some steel, like a flint steel, out of some of these pieces. That way, if you're in the bush and you're carrying this thing, this acts as a holder for your steel, and it also, you can turn it around and shave off a little bit and then flip it over and strike the steel and go ahead and spark your fire off of this guy. So it's like a complete single piece fire making carry kit, which I'm going to be hoping to do those later. Some of these chunks have come out quite large, like this one. This one is just over 1 pound, I believe, and it's just a solid chunk, so I haven't butchered it up into smaller pieces. I'm going to see what I can do with it, and I also need to see about fixing my video quality, which I'm going to do right now. Okay, that ought to stop the camera from acting crazy with the lighting. So this guy's about 1 pound. I'm not going to break this up into smaller chunks. I don't know what kind of crazy ideas I'm going to get later on to butcher this guy up. At the moment, I have more Fatwood than I'm ever going to need for the rest of the winter, at least, and probably for the next couple of years. So I'm not making a big deal out of getting all these into chunks that I can use immediately. So for the moment, I don't know, this may end up just being in my EDC bag out in the truck, and the bag that I take when I go deep in the woods to go do stuff out there, and just have it around and use this as like a forever fire starter or something. I don't know. But whatever the case, I don't really want to cut these up and waste them, because I may get a brilliant idea. You never know. And then I'm going to be like, man, I wish I had that big piece still. Then there are other pieces. Most of these, the stuff that's not my commercial grade, is because of smaller cross section. And some of these pieces are actually a little bit higher quality Fatwood, and some of them are just oddly shaped, and some of them are real skinny pieces. Just depends on what I pulled off the wood. So basically the reason that I'm getting weird shaped pieces is because this stump, I think I pointed out in the video, I may have already said it here, that that stump wasn't entirely rotten yet. So there's a lot of this. And this is, you can't really see the color there. It's almost like a salmon pink color. It's got just the faintest little pink to it. And these chunks are basically going into my regular kindling bin, because they don't have the same smell to them, and you can kind of tell by feeling them and looking at them that they're not, I mean, I'm sure there's resin in here, but this is not the same as this. So this will actually, when you light it, it'll bubble, the resin will come out, it'll turn black, and it'll look like goo and probably drip all over everything if you're holding it. Whereas this stuff is not. This is more like regular kindling that just works really, really, really freaking well. So it's resinous, but I'm reserving these pieces for just regular kindling at the moment. So that's that, and everything's kind of getting sorted out here, so I can figure, okay, I've got this much of this stuff and that much of that stuff. I've got a whole bunch of these little chunks already ready to go. So when I start making these fire steels, we'll just see if I can sell some on eBay or at the farmer's market or whatever. And if they take off, then I've got a whole bunch of these chunks ready to go. And I have even more of these large pieces that can be butchered up if I need to. If it does start to take off and I can sell these things regularly, then I may go down to, there's a section of woods down in the bottom in the holler where there are a lot of pine trees growing. So I'm going to be looking for branches, and I think I said in the video, sometimes you can find a branch that's rotted off even on a live tree, and you just cut into that sucker and break it out, and it'll be like a really nice piece of Fatwood for a couple inches, or maybe a foot or two, just depends. And those, since they're branches, they're already shaped kind of in a way that's not dimensionally stable for lumber, but as far as nice pieces of wood that are really easy to work and very straight grained, like branches are the way to go for small things. I'm quickly learning. And that's it. Just wanted to kind of show you a little bit about the grading process and how cool all this stuff is. And don't mind the shirt. I don't work for Baker Hughes anymore, but I just got off work a little while ago and was butchering some of these up and kind of wanted to show this off. So if you find a stump and it's not completely rotten, then it's still going to have some pieces like this in it that are maybe not the best quality Fatwood, or even not Fatwood at all. So you can anticipate that. Like, not everything is going to be. I split one of these open last night and it was full of ants. So that piece definitely wasn't Fatwood, because ants don't like turpentine resin. They wouldn't build a home there if it was that impregnated. So there's some regular kindling in here too. But overall, I'm very, very happy with the stump. And I've got several pounds put up. I think I've got at least 10 pounds already put up in various size chunks that are all high quality, and I'm starting to fill up a 5-gallon bucket with the more oddly shaped pieces and the smaller pieces. So making progress, but I'm not going to do this all in one day, because if I sit down and process that entire stump in one day, it's going to take all day. It'll take 8 hours to process the whole thing and break it down. But in any case, I've been sorting, so I've got a little junk bucket over there. I've been taking the really small slivers and putting them in my tinder I got like a little tub of really small Fatwood pieces, because I'll take these out of that bag, and I don't like using these because that's just a waste of Fatwood to me. So what I'll do is I'll cut them in half, or rather I'll split them down into, you know, little 2-3 millimeter size slivers, and then I'll just snap those in half, and I keep those in a mason jar. And like I think 3 or 4 of these sticks will fill up that mason jar, so I don't need Fatwood for a long time, because usually this wood stove back here is cooking 24/7 right now this time of the year, and I don't have to start a fire very often unless I'm starting one outside. So stuff lasts a really long time if you use it like smartly, and then it's worth its weight in gold. But if you don't use it smartly and you want to follow the directions on the pack, you can burn up like 3 or 4 sticks at a time to start every fire, and you'll run through a bag pretty quick. But the way I use it, this is more than enough for what I need. And so I'm going ahead with the keychain idea, because these are just kind of neat. I showed one to a guy at work today, and he's like, "What is that?" And I was kind of surprised to see a hunter that didn't know what Fatwood was, but whatever. He thought they were kind of cool. And so I'm going to go ahead with these guys and start putting them up. Now these I'm going to be making out of the bag, the pieces that I had ordered, just because they're already ready to go, and I already have a process for breaking them down into this size piece. I might make various sizes or whatever, and if I ever get a store running on my website, like, all this stuff will be available through there too. But I'm mainly going to be focusing on like eBay and the farmers market. But anyways, hopefully that if you start cutting into your Fatwood, and don't worry too much about what it looks like and which pieces are working and which pieces aren't. If you don't know anything about Fatwood and you've never even used it before, you can still kind of get an idea of which pieces are good and which pieces are not. And if you're not sure, all you have to do is take your knife and just break off like a little toothpick size piece and light it on fire. If it starts sizzling, then that's the good stuff. If it burns for a long time, that's the good stuff. And if it just looks like an ordinary piece of punk wood that's going to catch a flame and burn for a little bit and go out, that's probably not the stuff that you're after. So, I mean, you can figure it out from experience really quick, what the good stuff is, what the bad stuff is. And once you have that sorted out for the pine trees that are in your area, or if you're collecting Douglas fir or any of the other species of conifer that'll produce Fatwood, then you'll know what to look for. And by the time you get, you know, start digging into the stump, you'll have it figured out, and you can be like, okay, well, that piece looks like it's not the right stuff, it doesn't smell right, toss it in the kindling bucket, and then just keep on going. But anything you find, if you find a stump that size, it's going to have a lot of this stuff in it. You may have to dig a little bit and strip some things off, and this is where an axe or a hatchet comes in handy, because you can just, you know, split down pieces really quick, and then you can kind of see, okay, that one's mostly an off color and it doesn't look right. This looks like the good stuff. This looks like the good stuff. And you just throw them into different piles and bust them up. And you'll have all the Fatwood you need for the year if you use it smartly. If you don't, you might have to find 1 or 2 other stumps, and that's it. It's not a terrible amount of work, and it saves you a trip to the hardware store to buy the prepackaged stuff that's shipped from who knows where. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. That's it. Still kind of a long video, but short for one of mine. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you get time, go check out the website, and I'm going to be cross-posting these videos on the website also. So I set up a video page on the website. Not sure where I'm going to go with that just yet, but for the moment, I'm just embedding all of my YouTube videos over there too, so you don't have to go to YouTube and hunt me down. If you want to find my videos, you can go straight there, and that'll save you from having some of the other little issues that go along with watching lots of YouTube videos. And if you watch lots of YouTube videos, I'm sure I don't have to explain that. So I will talk at you later, and until next time, have a great time, stay healthy, and you know, check out some of my videos, check out my blogs. I'll see you next time. Bye.